Hey everybody, I'm Jacob Castro and welcome to another video here on Jacob's Aquarium. So, it's officially been 1 month since my brand new planet tank has been set up, this beautiful tank behind me. And I couldn't be happier, now. I can't say I was happy before because all the issues that I was dealing with, the initial startup of this tank, dealing with blue-green algae and stuff. But I can officially say now that I am happy and I'm just starting to really enjoy this tank. So as you guys know from previous tank updates, I have been dealing with a huge blue-green algae problem. And I did say that I was using potassium nitrate to take care of that. And it was working, it was kind of working. I noticed some little improvements here and there. But that really was not taking care of the problem 100%. So what I had to do was I had to resort to my last and final thing, to fix this problem, something that I was, had on the back burner for a very long time because I just do not like using chemicals. But yeah, I had to use a chemical. And I'm so glad I found this chemical because it worked 100%. It did not harm the plants. It did not harm the fish. It did not foul the water. It worked exactly like it says it does. And I'll put up a little picture of that product right now. Now, let me just say first off, that company is not paying me in any way to promote their product. I know a lot of people send me hate comments saying that, oh, you're just talking about that because they paid you to talk about it. Sometimes, I do actually find products and I do use products that I have actually bought myself, and the companies have not paid me to promote their product or say good things about it. I just simply do it because the product has worked for me, as this product has. I put this stuff in last week and oh my God, within probably, I would say 2 to 3 days, all the blue-green algae was completely gone. And I'm just so happy because that stuff was really, really holding the tank back. The plants were not growing. The tank was so hard to clean. It was so unattractive to look at. Some of the plants were dying. I mean, it was really holding the tank back. So I'm glad that stuff is gone. You can see, that there is still some algae on the rocks, but it is not the blue-green algae. That stuff is completely gone, and there is not a lot of algae on the plants at all. And the plants seem like they have grown noticeably more than they have in the previous update. So blue-green algae completely gone. I'm so glad, so happy. If it does come back, I know what to use. And I'm just glad there's a product out there that, you could dose in your tank. It can get rid of the stuff and it doesn't harm anything. That's one of the big drawbacks with using chemicals in an aquarium is that they always have, as with, humans taking medications, there is always some type of side effect. Some chemicals harm the fish a little bit, so you have to be careful how much you dose. Some chemicals will harm the plants or foul the water, but this stuff did not do any of that. It simply took care of a problem, and after the problem was taken care of, that's it. It was done. I did a water change to, get rid of, all the excess stuff that was in there. It was a large water change, 50%, and that's it. I'm done. The tank is clear of blue-green algae. I mean, and it has not come back. Nothing, no blue-green algae is growing, it's just, I'm just so happy, guys. So, as I said, if you're having a blue-green algae problem, give that product a try. And I'm not saying that because they're paying me. I'm saying that because it definitely did work for me. What I wanted to switch gears now to is fertilizers. And as you guys know, because I mentioned it in my previous video and on Facebook and stuff, I've been using the, I think it's called the PPS Pro fertilizer package from Greenleaf Aquariums. It is a set of like 4 or 5 bags of fertilizers that you mix together in these little bottles, and you dose them every morning in your aquarium. And they're supposed to provide the perfect amount of nutrients for your plants to stay healthy and grow. And there are other methods of using these fertilizers, but I chose to do the PPS Pro because That's the one that came with directions. The other methods, didn't. And it seemed like you had to be a chemist or a scientist to really figure out how to, use these fertilizers properly. So I chose to just go along with that program, the PPS Pro, whatever, and, do it that way. And that has done wonders for my tank. These fertilizers are great, and they really do a great job at providing essential nutrients and the nutrients that your plants need to thrive. Ever since I started dosing them, I've noticed, an improvement in the plants. They have grown a little bit faster. The colors seem a little bit better. Some of the plants that were starting to melt have not, continued to melt, and that's because they're getting the proper amount of nutrients they need. And the plants just they seem healthy. They seem visibly better than what they were before, when I was just simply relying on CO2, for the tank. So CO2, good light, nutrients. I mean, what more could this tank need? But the nutrients were just, the cherry on top of the cake. So let's dive in a little deeper to, the Greenleaf Aquarium's PPS Pro fertilizer package. I'm going to talk more about it and show you guys how to use it and, explain a little bit more about it. So let's take a look at that now. All right, so let me start off by saying, before I even considered the PPS Pro fertilizer package from Greenleaf Aquariums, I was using the Seachem Flourish line of nutrients, and it was costing me a lot of money. Each bottle of the stuff, depending on the size, can run anywhere from $5 to $30. The PPS Pro package is $25 and includes pretty much everything you need to properly fertilize a planted tank. You also don't use very much of each fertilizer to create your micro and macro solutions, which means you could make as much fertilizer as what comes in the largest Seachem Flourish bottle for less than $1 instead of $30. This package is really just great, and it is definitely going to save me a lot of money on the cost of fertilizing my tank. The PPS Pro fertilizer package includes 2 dosing bottles, one for micros and one for macros, 5 bags of fertilizers, potassium nitrate, Plantex, magnesium sulfate, potassium sulfate, and monopotassium phosphate. One extra thing you'll need to mix your solutions is a scale, preferably one that weighs things in grams, and something else that's optional but should be considered is a face mask. Some of the fertilizers are rather dusty and can go in the air while you're mixing them, so it's best not to inhale these chemicals, and that's where a face mask comes in handy. Before we mix our fertilizers, we need to know how much of each one we need to make each solution. For that, there is a link on Greenleaf Aquariums to a page that has a lot of good information on this fertilizer package and clear, understandable directions on how to make each solution. Now that we have our instructions handy, we can start mixing our fertilizers. I typically use a glass cup to weigh my fertilizers and just cancel out the extra weight on my scale. Also, use a funnel to transfer your fertilizers from your scale into your dosing bottles so you don't spill anything. For your macro dosing bottle, mix 29 grams of potassium sulfate, 33 grams of potassium nitrate, 3 grams of monopotassium sulfate, and 20 grams of magnesium sulfate. For your micro dosing bottle, add 40 grams of Plantex. Now, of course, we need to mix these nutrients with something. You pretty much don't add them dry like this into your aquarium unless you're doing a different type of method of fertilizing your tank. But since we're doing the PPS Pro perpetual, whatever it's called method, Greenleaf Aquariums recommends that you add distilled or reverse osmosis to your dosing bottles. So I chose to use RO water because I already have an RO system set up. Once your dosing bottles are full, not all the way of course, just to the water line, shake them very well and let both bottles sit overnight, preferably in a cool, dark place to minimize fungus or algae growth in the bottles. I put mine in a small refrigerator because it is a cool, dark place. After both solutions have had a chance to sit for 24 hours, Dose them daily, preferably in the morning, according to the size of your aquarium. 1 ml for every 10 gallons is recommended. So the PPS Pro fertilizer package from Greenleaf Aquariums is just great. I have completely fallen in love with it. I'm just so happy that, I finally can fertilize my 80-gallon tank, my 200-gallon pond, and not have to spend as much money as I was before. Because, before when I was using the Seachem Flourish line of nutrients, it was costing me a lot of money, I was going through those little bottles like it seemed like every 3 or 4 days because of all this, the amount of water I'm fertilizing. I mean, if you put it all together, it's 280 gallons. I mean, it was costing me a lot of money. We'll just say that. So being that this fertilizer package from Greenleaf Aquariums is so cheap, and even after you mix the fertilizers you need that'll last you a long time to begin with in the dosing bottles, and you still have a ton left over to make more. It's just, the cost savings alone is just crazy, and I don't know why anybody would continue using anything else, besides this. It's so much cheaper, and it does the same thing as with any other fertilizers, that you'd buy. So it's a great package. Highly recommend it. So I hope you guys will check it out as well, and let me know how it's working for you in the comment section. All right, moving on. Last but not least, the big decision on whether to do discus or not. Let's talk about that now. I got a lot of different opinions from you guys on whether I should, stick with the plan and put discus in this tank, or switch to having small fish only and add a bunch of little driftwood trees, or one tree in particular. And you can probably already tell what I chose to do, and I chose to go this route instead of the discus because I've had discus before. I know what they're all about. Yes, they're beautiful fish, and I'd love to have them again. But I haven't really had a tank where I've done driftwood trees like this with different types of moss. I haven't really had a tank with a bunch of different species of small fish, So I wanted to venture over to that and experience that. I wanted to experience something new, So that's what I decided to do. I decided to do the driftwood tree instead. And I have more manzanita wood coming, so I'm going to be putting some more trees in here. And as well, I'll also be selling that wood now on my website. I found a great source for that, and the prices were great. So I figured I can pass that, those savings on to my customers on my website. So I'm going to start offering manzanita wood on my website for a great price, far cheaper than they are anywhere else on the internet. So look forward to that. But that's what I chose to do. I chose to not do discus and do small fish instead. And I think this was the right decision because, like I said, it would really give me an opportunity to venture over to the smaller scale of planted tanks, not have such large fish and have to do such large aquascapes, but instead, do things on a much smaller scale, make driftwood trees, watch them grow, trim them, just experience all that. And above all, have a lot of different species of small fish, which is something that I really haven't had before. So, like I said, I have more manzanita wood coming. I'm going to be building more driftwood trees. But I did build this one recently, and it was quite fun actually doing it. And I have some video of that, so I'd like to show that to you now. So the first thing I did was I drilled a small hole at the base of the wood to secure a piece of stainless steel mesh. I did this because my substrate isn't nearly deep enough to properly secure a piece of wood like this. The stainless steel mesh will never rust or decay, so it was a perfect material to hold this wood in place. For this driftwood tree, I chose to use 2 pieces of manzanita wood and tie them together with fishing line.
Just using one piece did not seem large enough to me, so combining both of these was the answer, and they worked very well together. You can hardly notice that these are two pieces of wood. They really do look like one naturally formed piece. Next, it was time to tie on the moss. For this, I could have used a special thread that dissolves over time, but being that was $8.99, I chose to use fishing line instead. The moss I used was weeping moss. I chose this moss because, based on the way it grows, it seemed like a perfect moss to mimic a real tree, and it grows bright green in color as well. Another good moss to use would be Physidens fontanus. I hope I pronounced that right. I apologize if I didn't. Because the shape of it looks exactly like tiny leaves. So an even better moss to use, and what I'll be using on my next driftwood tree. After the tree was built, it was a snap to stick it in my substrate. The steel mesh weighed it down perfectly and held it upright like I intended. Once the moss grows in, I think this tree is going to look fantastic. And already, I think it's bringing a more interesting look to my aquarium. I absolutely love it. It looks so cool.
All right, so that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching this Planet Tank update. I really appreciate it. I will be back next week, I promise. I know I kind of skipped a week or two, before I did this or before I uploaded this update. But I promise I'll do my best to be back next week with another Planet Tank update where we will be, or I should say I will be, doing some different things with this tank, and hopefully I'll have the plants will be bigger and I'll be able to show you guys that because they're growing every day. They're growing really fast now, so there's just a lot more to come. And also stay tuned if you are in the market for aquarium plants, because on my website jacobsaquarium.com, just like we did last year, we're going to be having another Black Friday sale, and it is going to be awesome. Last year I had a Black Friday sale and the website was sold out within, I think it was under an hour. I just couldn't believe it, and so many people were so happy they could buy the plants that they wanted. It's such a cheap price. So I'm going to do that again because I love making people happy, and Black Friday is Black Friday. People love to get good deals on the stuff that they want to buy. So why not do it, So stay tuned. I'll be probably making a more formal video about that, more formal announcement, pretty soon here on this channel in a separate video. So stay tuned for that if you want more information on the Black Friday sale. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I love you guys so much. Have fun with your tanks, and I will see you next time.